Streaming live on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and blasttheradio.com, this is The Lowell Green Show. The number to call and be heard around the world is 613-413-2217. Or email Lowell at blasttheradio.com. And now, here is Lowell Green.
Thank you, John. I've just discovered something late this morning, actually, that is really disconcerting. And John, you have an observation on this. Let me just tell you what has really got me worried here. At 1 o'clock today, Ontario was burning 20,006 megawatts of power. The projected peak is 6 o'clock tonight. That's when people start to cook dinner, etc. The projected peak consumption at 6 is 21,459. Now, here's what's got me very worried. The peak capacity, in other words, if everything was working full blast and wind and solar was only producing what it is now, peak capacity is only 24,701. In other words, at 6 o'clock tonight, we may be about 2,500 megawatts short of full capacity. This is very disconcerting. I mean, we've got everybody out there, certainly the government and others, trying to convince everybody to buy electric cars. Excuse me. But here we are with hardly any electric cars out there. And at 6 o'clock tonight, we're going to be very close to drawing as much power as we can, as we have available. One of the reasons is that wind and solar right now is producing almost nothing. Of the 20,000 megawatts that we're burning, wind is producing only 204, solar 281, 2.4%. But I just want to stress once again, you know, we're going merrily along here. Oh, yeah, let's electrify this. Let's get electric cars and everything else. But at 6 o'clock tonight, we may very well be within 2,500 megawatts of full capacity. Now, John, you have an observation. What happens when we reach full capacity and over? We have some brownouts.
Well, we've been there, and it wasn't long after the storm of May 22nd. Of course, we lost a lot of power lines. We had a lot of outages and stuff, and they were rerouting power lines here, there, and everywhere to try and get us all connected temporarily. And not long after that, I think it was Canada and Merivale Road, had several hours on one day where they had complete blackouts, not even a brownout, but a complete blackout. And when you went to the Hydro One website, the reason for the outage, they said, was no supply.
Yeah, that may have been related to the downed wires. I don't know.
I can't imagine, because the supply comes from the province. So, I mean, if they can't, so, I mean, that's like, you know, having I mean, what we're doing here, we're ordering the water. We haven't even started digging the pool yet.
Good analogy. I just thought I would point that out, folks. I'm not going to pound away at the fact that wind and solar is producing, 2.4%. But what is really, really disconcerting is that nobody seems to be paying any attention that in the province of Ontario, we're getting bloody close to full capacity. We don't have if wind and solar just are doing what they're now, we don't have the capacity to produce any more than about 24,700 megawatts. But we're going to be at 6 o'clock tonight burning 21,045. So I just repeat, folks, this, we've got to start getting serious here. All of this talk about electric cars and so that's fine. But maybe before we get all of these electric cars, maybe we better make sure that we got enough electricity so that when they plug in, they're not going to burn the whole damn system down. I mean, it just begs your question, John. Is there anybody in authority out there, including Doug Ford, who knows what the hell they're doing, that's thinking about this? I didn't realize how close we were until I'm looking. Oh, you go to IESO, you'll see it for yourself. I keep telling people, go to IESO.ca. There, you'll see it right there in front of you.
Well, we had this conversation a few weeks ago when we were talking about electric cars, and one of the many rants that we've had about that. And we heard from electricians who were saying that if like more than 3 people on your block have electric cars, you'll overload the grid in your neighborhood.
Well,
We're not there yet.
the way it is now, if you get one car on your block, you may be overloading. We're very right now. We're very close to reaching full capacity. This is all of the power that we can get from our dams, from nuclear. They run nuclear full time, full power all of the time, gas, etc. Everything. We only have spare about 2,500 megawatts, which is peanuts. I mean, the car probably burns that. So I just say, you know what? My job is to do whatever I can to alert people, and I'm doing it. I alerted people with Line 5. I alerted people to green energy, the chaos years and years ago. I'm just alerting to the fact that we're getting perilously close to a situation where we cannot generate enough electricity in the province of Ontario to supply our needs now, let alone when 30% of us are plugging our cars in. I'm going to tell you right now, if 20% of our hell's bells, if 10% of us plugged in electric cars right now, the whole system would probably go down. I'm not trying to panic. I'm just stating what's obvious. Okay, I'm going to leave it at that, folks.
Well, don't run away from it too fast. So there's a meeting, I think this weekend or next in Arnprior. They're proposing an incinerator, which you have talked about time and time again.
Oh,
a
God,
great
yes.
way to produce energy. Well, of course, everybody in Arnprior now is up in arms about, oh my God, not an incinerator, no. So there's this huge, huge pushback against this thing that they know nothing about and that we obviously need. Craziness.
I don't know. You throw up your hands. I mean, you wonder how we got to the situation we are now, but it's just total lack of planning. Anything, folks, I hadn't intended to talk about this, but when I saw this, it just suddenly struck me. Holy smokes.
Well, we got a phone call out of your rant, so you want to go to the line here?
Yeah, sure, please.
All right. We didn't get your name, but you're on the air with Lowell Green. Who are you?
Yeah, hi, it's Paul here calling from Canada.
Paul in Canada. Go ahead. You're on with Lowell Green.
Yeah, hi, Lowell.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I'm just calling in. I agree with your point about the electrical situation, and it's kind of the big elephant in the room that we're not discussing this. But again, my feeling on it is that this whole going electric policy makes sense in Quebec. I think it's a policy that fits Quebec to a T. They have excess electrical power, and Ontario, we don't. We're decommissioning the Pickering power plant, and we just got through finding a place to dump all of our nuclear waste, which I believe is Chalk River. I can't remember, but that was probably a couple of months ago. We're just not making enough electricity here.
Well, what bothers
sorry, Lowell,
me,
I can't hear you there, but anyway, thanks. That's my comment today.
All right, thank you. So, folks, anything you want to discuss, we're wide open today. There's several other issues that you may have some thoughts about. Number one, I say, thank God, we're finally going to have our kids back in classroom this fall. Hallelujah. Now, just as in Arnprior, apparently there's opposition to modern technology, an incinerator. Apparently there's opposition from some people about having our kids back in the class. Listen, I think it's a shame. I think our kids were robbed. I think in some cases even damaged by not having most kids in the classroom. And by the way, not in the classroom is at all levels. It was not only in the elementary, it was secondary and in universities and colleges. Education by Zoom. I'm sorry. It robbed kids. Maybe it was, I don't want to get into a debate about vaccinations and all. We're finished with that. All I know is that Doug Ford says, look, understand there's some opposition, primarily from the teachers' unions, of course, but we're going to have all of the kids are back. And I say, hallelujah. We robbed them. I think in some cases we damaged them. I don't think that education by Zoom or whatever the hell it is a proper education at all. Kids need to be in the classroom, interacting with other students, and able to interact directly with the teacher. That's my feeling. You may have some different thoughts. What's your feeling? Good decision or not? Kids back in the classroom. On another topic. Here we go again. Trudeau and his bobbleheads have done everything in their power to divide Canadians. I think most of us agree with that. They've also been denigrating our history and accomplishments and lessening the importance of Parliament itself. And by the way, Zoom Parliament fits into that as well. I believe that the continued blockage of Wellington Street is just one more attempt to demonize, to demonize anybody who wishes to oppose Trudeau and his corrupt government. Listen, Wellington Street is one of the most historic streets, one of the most famous streets in all of Canada. Wellington Street has been there free for traffic of all kinds for more than 200 years. This is the first time, as far as I can determine, that it has been shut down to vehicle traffic. I think all it is an attempt by Trudeau to once again prove how evil the convoy was and how evil anybody that wishes to protest is. Listen, it was a big deal when the convoy shut down Wellington Street. This was the major complaint. They've shut down Wellington Street. Well, Wellington Street is still shut down. And by the way, it didn't seem to stop attacks on Parliament either. Somebody drove a truck into the gates.
I was sitting here chomping at the bit for the opportunity to say just that.
So, but now it gets worse. Wellington Street is bad enough. And by the way, if Jim Watson is playing any kind of a role, shame on him. Open the damn street. Can I tell you something else? Jim Watson, Justin Trudeau, you liberals, you don't own Wellington Street. I own Wellington Street. You own Wellington Street. John, you own Wellington Street. And we have owned Wellington Street since long before Confederation. It's not Trudeau's. It's not Watson's. It is ours. It is Canadian Citizen Street. Open the damn street. Now, the next thing that they're attacking, the National War Memorial, but a couple of incidents of protests of various kinds at the National War Memorial. And now they're talking about fencing it off, shutting it off. So what they're talking about is shutting off Parliament, shutting off Wellington Street, shutting off the National War Memorial. Listen, can I tell you, I have some news for you. Pardon me.
Mm-hmm.
Protest is healthy, absolutely necessary for a free and democratic society. Tens of thousands of young men died to preserve the freedom to protest, peaceful protest. I'm going to tell you something else. The danger in Canada is not peaceful protest. The danger in Canada, if there is any, is apathy. Open Wellington Street, open Parliament for protests of all kinds. This is healthy. This is democracy. Democracy is messy. It's sometimes noisy, horn honking, shut down streets. That's democracy. If you don't want protests, then join Cuba. They don't allow them there. Join Russia. They don't allow them there. Join North Korea. They'll shoot you there. I don't, is there a communist country, any place that allows protest? Protest is democracy in action. That's what democracy is. And, can I tell you the main reason, perhaps the only reason that Trudeau wants to shut down Rideau or Wellington and the National War Memorial? You know why? Because the protests are against him. An increasing number of people in this country are fed up with this guy. And in fact, there's a growing hate against Justin Trudeau, and it's demonstrated in many of these protests. That's why he wants to shut it down. He wants to pretend it doesn't exist. How do you pretend? Well, you block off any chance people have at national symbols, which is where you get the media coverage. Open Wellington, leave the National War Memorial. Listen, excuse me. If you want to put a little fence around the tomb of the unknown soldier, just to make sure that nobody by accident stumbles there, that's fine. But the National War Memorial, I'll tell you something else. Wellington Street doesn't belong to Trudeau, doesn't belong to Jim Watson. And I'll tell you something else. The National War Memorial doesn't belong to Trudeau. Doesn't belong to Jim Watson. The National War Memorial belongs to me. Belongs to you, John. Belongs to all of you who are watching and listening. It is our National War Memorial. It's our Parliament Hill, our Wellington Street. Open them up. It's ours, not yours. Any comments? Please let me know, folks. Otherwise, I'll just say, well, here we go again, apathy. I doubt that. Go ahead, John, please.
613-413-2217 is the number, and we do have another call. Can you hear me, caller?
Yes, I can.
Wonderful. We're off to a great start then. Can we get your name, please?
It's Chris.
Chris, welcome to the Lowell Green Show. What do you have to say to Mr. Green?
I want to talk about going back to the electric car thing. Can you hear me, Lowell?
Sure, go ahead, please.
Yeah, well, a few days ago on Rebel News, Ezra Levant pointed out something that was happening out in Victoria. The eco activists, eco terrorists, we should call them. They were deflating tires on SUVs as a way to go against the people who are polluting the environment.
Sure.
But the media hasn't even really touched that story, except for small outlets like Rebel News. But that's a big story.
Yeah, well, it's the same situation with a lot of the eco protests. Very little media coverage, hardly any arrests. You show up in a truckers' convoy in Ottawa. Not only do you get arrested, but you get hauled away in shackles. But set fire to equipment out on a pipeline or attack, and nothing happens. It's just the way it is, sir. Thanks for calling. Thank you very much, John. What else have we got here?
All right, let's go to Facebook. By the way, we are on Facebook, we're on Twitch, we're on YouTube, all of your show links. If you just go to lowellgreen.com, it takes you right to the page we've set up at blasttheradio.com. Makes it real easy for you. Craig says, JT is finally becoming aware of the dislike Canadians have for him. Unfortunately for us, he'll likely hang around with the support of the NDP for another 2.5 years. Let's go to text. In the May storm, Blossom Park was out for over 4 days, then had another rain downpour in July and out for over 4 hours. With electric vehicles, will never be able to handle it. Does Trudeau have an EV? Doubt it, says Donna.
Yeah, I just want to distinguish. I mean, there's a difference between storms downing power lines.
Sure.
That's one thing. I'm not talking about that. There are no downed power lines in Ontario right now. Everything is fully operational. What I am saying to you is that at 6 o'clock tonight, if everything goes as predicted, we will be within probably about 2,500 megawatts of not having enough power to supply everybody. What happens when you don't have enough power? Well, somebody doesn't get power. There are brownouts. I mean, in California, which relies heavily on wind, they have brownouts, blackouts all of the time. If we don't do something here, we're headed for the same thing. And don't forget, Trudeau says that with the next 3 or 4 years, 30% of all automobiles in this province and in this country must be electric. If they do that, we don't have enough power for it. What action is being taken to provide the sufficient power? None. In fact, I doubt whether Trudeau is even aware. I'm not sure if Doug Ford is aware of how precarious the situation is. We are very close to not having enough power in Ontario. And we have hardly any electric cars. Figure it out yourself, folks. Go ahead, John, please. No, you know what? I got to get a word in here for Shields. All right.
Sure. All right. Yep.
No matter whether you have electricity or not, you're going to need appliances of some kind, even if you have to crank them by hand. Hey, don't kid yourself. My grandma used to crank it by hand all the time. But I'm going to tell you, whether you have to crank it by hand or you actually plug it in, Shields has got it. 90%, they tell me that 90% of all the appliances that you could possibly want are in stock, which means that they can have it in your house within a few days, perhaps even within a day or two. Don't forget as well that they have a very good finance plan. If you're a little short of cash, want to, talk to them. They've got great finance plans, including a plan where you don't pay till 2004. Shields.ca. Good folks, good deals. John.
Your segues are the best. I just had to say it. 613-413-2217. We're busy on the phone. We're busy on text as well. Peter in Pembroke text you, Lowell, today. Been talking in person with the mayor, Peckett, from McNabb Braeside regarding the incinerator file. Good for job creation and very effective for reducing waste if enough municipalities get on board with it. Trudeau doesn't own the 5-span bridge that leads to Shield, says Laurentian View Terry. All right. We've got another phone call coming in from the Quebec side, Shawville. In fact, Lowell, let's take this call. Hi, can we get your name, please?
Keith?
Keith?
Go ahead, sir.
Right to the point with Lowell Green. Go ahead, Keith.
Hi, just about closing down Wellington Street. I don't know why they just can't simply close it off to trucks and just allow cars there. They do that for the Champlain Bridge, don't they? I mean, this is ridiculous. You have somebody coming into town and you want to take them, haven't been to the city before. How are you going to show them the Parliament buildings if you can't drive down Wellington Street?
Well, yeah, there's the practical. But what my point is that I don't think that Trudeau has the right to do it. I don't think Jim Watson. That street belongs to you and me. It's one of the most historic streets in the entire country. Access to Parliament Hill. We have every right to use that street. Thank you for calling, sir. Thank you. Oh, by the way, just before you go, are you glad that our kids are going to be back in class this fall?
Oh, very much so. So important psychologically for them.
Absolutely, and for the education. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Good to hear
from
you.
And interaction.
Thank you. Yeah, you're absolutely right. John, and we're running a little short of time here.
Yep. Keith, thank you for the phone call. Boy, great phone calls today. All right. Our electrical grid is going to go the same way as our medical system in this country. Total collapse, says Laurentian View Terry. And is on Facebook. The people touting this EV green utopia are out to lunch, devoid of any particular reality about how dysfunctional our energy grid will become, constantly browning out. They truly seem to be like small, naive children who don't understand how electricity actually works. Mike says, good on you, Lowell. Thank you for keeping us informed. Over to Joshua on Facebook. The system cannot generate enough electricity, and the politicians cannot get enough brains to see it coming.
Yeah, there's a shortage of electricity and a number of brains. That's for sure. The wattage is pretty low. Go ahead.
Another person texted in to say, I'm in fear just to wave the Canadian flag. I say wave it anyway. I got your back on that. Gregory says there should be some sort of emphasis on using hybrid motors for vehicles so the internal combustion motors can charge the vehicles. I agree. This person says they should have focused first on the hybrid option, since when you are running on gas, it recharges your battery. To me, that is ideal and perfect for someone who mostly does city driving and is in a situation where you potentially can't plug in a vehicle.
Wait a minute. Hold it. I want you to think about that. One way or the other, there's got to be power here. Okay, you can't have you. Go ahead, please, John.
Barbara, we haven't heard from you yet today. Welcome to the show, Barbara. Thanks for posting on Facebook. Never once have I heard a Liberal or NDP defend the mandate on electric vehicles. Where are they? She asks. Deborah says Parliament needs to resume with MPs' bums in the seats. Teachers and kids need to be back in school with their bums in the seats. Enough of the fear-mongering.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Richard says, just think, only the two of you running the show. If you were with the CBC yesterday's topic, you would have a crew of 30 for a half-hour show. Yeah. It's actually funny in a way, says, and their claims of the Earth getting hotter is a direct conflict with having enough electricity to plug in EVs, since everyone has their AC on, which is a huge drain on the grid. Can lefties not figure that out? Or have they got on such green-tinted glasses, it removes the ability to figure out such practical realities of how the electrical grid works? Another shot in May. The main alternate source of power other than fossil fuels is wind and solar constantly.
I have to say something. I've been around a long time, made a lot of predictions, most of which have come true. I predict that within the next few years, they will outlaw the use of air conditioning. I'm serious. It's a major drain. If we have a situation here where we do not have enough power to power our vehicles, our stoves, etc., they will fine you for having an air conditioning, or at the very most, there will be a really hefty charge to run your air conditioning. It'll become a luxury that most people cannot afford. Mark my words, okay? Mark my words. Go ahead.
Somebody just wrote to the website here. What with all the CBC employees who are working at home do once we defund them? Looks like they'll have to go out something. I think Wellington Street should be kept open to the public. So I got a lot of balls in the air here today. I think Wellington Street should be kept open to the public. Sussex Street is open with the U.S. Embassy there with all the barriers. If terrorists want to get in, they will. It does not matter where or when. And Lowell just gave that example. On, what was it, the weekend? Some guy rents a van full of knives and swords, etc., and tries to plow right through the front gates of Parliament Hill, despite the fact that Wellington Street is closed.
Yeah, it's just I believe Trudeau is behind this, and he just wants to. I think that he wants to continue to punish us for the convoy, and the reason he wants to punish us is because the convoy was opposed to him. You know, there were all sorts of F Trudeau signs. We all know what happened. Go ahead, John.
So, any thoughts then that he's keeping it shut because he knows that this farmers' protest is likely to start rolling into town any day now?
No, I don't think so. I think that I just think that there's an attitude in the Liberal government somehow or other that the ordinary person doesn't matter, and I think that that's something that more and more people begin to sense. The truckers certainly sense that, and this is just one more way of showing who's boss. Okay, you shut down Wellington Street. Well, you know what? We're the boss here. We'll shut down Wellington Street, and we'll keep it shut down. I think that's the attitude. What other reason could there be? Safety? I don't buy it for a moment. Go ahead, John.
Twitch, Twitter, YouTube, etc. We're all over the place today with great comments. Could we ask you folks watching, especially on social media, could you give the show a share? Could you tell your friends that Lowell Green is still doing his thing? Just go to lowellgreen.com. It'll link you right to all the shows. So Terry's got a question. He's watching on Twitch. If they outlaw air conditioners, he asks, in the summertime, why not furnaces in the winter? He wouldn't put it past Trudeau.
Well, the fact of the matter is you have to have heat in the winter or you will die. You will not likely die if you don't have an air conditioning.
I might.
I think more likely. I will amend that. I think that what they will do is that there will be a heavy price to pay. That air conditioning will become a real luxury, unless somehow or other they completely change the electrical grid and pump up our capacity, which means, among other things, we're going to have to go more nuclear. Nuclear is the answer. There's no emissions whatsoever from nuclear. Go ahead, please.
Another call coming in, Lowell. Hi there. Can we get your name, please?
Yeah, hi. My name's Gregory.
Hi, Gregory. Go ahead. You are on live with Lowell Green. Right to the point, sir.
Okay. Well, just reiterating a point in regards to hybrid motors, because I'm a trucker, and these vehicles are going to have excessive demand on electricity. Nothing like anything we're even starting to experience yet with electric cars. And it's going to have to be an emphasis placed on hybrid vehicles so the gas motors charge up the electric the batteries for the electric motors.
Yeah, the only problem with that is that in no way does that help the environment. I mean, you're burning gasoline, which is a fossil fuel, in order to create electricity. It defeats the very purpose of the electrical vehicle. I mean, what you're saying is that, that your electricity is being created by burning gasoline. Well, why not just burn gasoline? Do you understand my point?
I'm not against it. Yeah, that's totally valid. The technology, the grid isn't there yet. It just is there. Give us the grid, and then make us go electric.
Okay, sir. Thank you for the call. Thank you. Yeah, this idea that somehow or other, well, we can just have a gasoline engine charge the electricity, then it's your car that is burning a gasoline. If the electricity is created by burning gasoline, why not just burn gasoline? Sometimes people just like they don't think. It's like the Ford executive, or maybe it was GM in Detroit, showing how great the new all electric car was. Someone said, "Where do you get the electricity?" And she said, "Well, we plug it into the building." Well, he said, "Well, where does the building get this with electricity?" "Oh, well," she said, "it comes from Lansing. That's Lansing, Michigan." And someone said, but Lansing is all coal-fired. Oh. So in other words, she's, instead of burning gasoline, which is much cleaner than coal, these cars, if you're getting your power from Lansing, are powered by coal. And this is supposed to be great for, I mean, it's just unbelievable. Go ahead, John.
Just a ton of phone calls today. I just want to say thanks for that. Boy, the show is so different when we get that kind of interaction. Thank you. Just a couple of quick last words. Here we go. Anne says, yes, but with the hybrid engines, you aren't burning hardly as much gas as with an ordinary car, Lowell, especially for those who mostly do city driving. I am looking at getting one myself, she says.
Yeah, but just a minute. Where are you getting? Where is the electricity coming from? It's not ferry does. So you say, well, they're going to be running some electricity. But what's producing the electricity? Gas? Coal? I mean, go ahead, John.
Yeah, a couple more comments. Okay, we'll go to Chris because I don't think we've heard from Chris before. Chris, welcome to the show. When Pickering drops offline, end of life, Lowell. Your prediction will come crashing down hard. Anything that's left over, folks, I will pass on to Lowell so he's got some weekend reading to do.
Have a good weekend, folks. Thank you all. We'll be back.
The Lowell Green Show is seen and heard live around the world at 2 p.m. Eastern. Connect with us online at blasttheradio.com/Lowell Green. Can't join us live? Download the Lowell Green podcast. Available on Apple, Spotify, Google, and more. Ask your smart speaker to play the Lowell Green podcast. This is a production of blasttheradio.com.